The music video I have chosen is Barbie World by Nicki Minaj and Ice Spice. It was released on the 23rd of June 2023 as part of the Barbie film and portrays Spice and Minaj as Barbie dolls. They represent black femininity in a predominantly white Barbie industry, but also equate female empowerment with wealth, success, and adhering to beauty standards. Railton and Watson's research showcases how black and white sexuality are conveyed differently in music videos, but always through a white male gaze, which positions black women, such as Beyoncé, as available sexual objects, and in contrast, white women like Kylie Minogue are depicted as unavailable, civilized, and restrained. However, I think Railton and Watson don't analyze the full complexity of Beyoncé's video. It features Jamaican artist Sean Paul and is influenced by the Jamaican dancehall music genre. Railton and Watson critique how the buttocks and hips are the focus of the black female dancers. However, their rhythms and dance moves are reflective of Caribbean dance culture and involve the dirty wine, which Sean Paul also refers to. This is not really acknowledged by Railton and Watson, who argue that the black buttocks is purely shown as primitive and animalistic. Whilst I agree the women are dressed to emphasize their sexual features, I think the video also attempts to pay homage to its genre. Furthermore, they argue that Beyoncé's submersion in the natural environment positions her as feral and dirty. Whilst Beyoncé does rub the sand suggestively over her almost naked body, I think the presence of the ocean and jungle are meant to acknowledge the landscape where the genre originated. Nature is not so much threatening, as Railton and Watson suggest on page 58, but is already part of the culture. Furthermore, they argue Beyoncé's hair is unruly and always in motion. However, the celebration of black hair as untamable is important for black empowerment, as highlighted by Carolette Norwood in 2017. Furthermore, I think their research will be strengthened by comparing the sexualization of Beyoncé to Sean Paul. He remains fully clothed in a sweater and blazer, whilst Beyoncé's limited clothing accentuates her sexual organs. She chases after a male figure, then dances for him. However, Paul remains unmoving and waits for a female to sit on him. He is then surrounded by a sea of almost naked women who bend and fold to suit him, whilst he remains sat, fully clothed and in control. As Railton and Watson note, Kylie Minogue is covered and sexually closed off at times, unlike Beyoncé, who is always portrayed as sexually willing. Moreover, the reading highlights how Christina Aguilera is not an African-American woman, but still tries on black culture in her Can't Hold Us Down music video. Without being part of the racialized poverty coded within the video, Aguilera commodifies this struggle. However, the black people in the video belong strictly to lower class spaces, and they lack the freedom that Aguilera has to move between classes freely. Similarly, the Barbie World video showcases how black women are restricted to stereotypes, whilst white sexuality is adaptable. Railton and Watson suggest the black female use of animal skins in fashion is a continuation of the feral and animalistic on page 57. However, Barbie Nicki Minaj poses with a leopard print handbag in the video, which I would argue is associated with luxury brands and wealth. It emphasizes Barbie's sense of couture and high fashion. Like Aguilera commodifying black poverty, white female sexuality has glamorized animal skins as no longer feral, but civilized. Ultimately, the Barbie World video is rooted in consumerism and feminine performance. Minaj and Spice equate wealth with success, as they both happily ride Ferraris, convertibles, jet skis, and aeroplanes. Many shots focus on Spice and Minaj's designer chains and jewelry, featuring Chanel. Spice and Minaj challenge the notion that a comfortable and successful lifestyle should only be accessible to white women, a notion that's been pushed by white Barbies in the past. The video features two sponsorships. The first is Olipop, a healthy soda which aids digestion and weight loss. 4 shirtless males drink the soda, with very muscular physiques that promote conventional beauty standards. The second sponsorship is for a finance investment app, suggesting that viewers should always be making money, perhaps to achieve the lifestyle that Minaj and Spice live out in the video. These two sponsorships perpetuate the notion that you can only be a Barbie if you're rich and have the ideal body type. Whilst it may be considered empowering to have black female Barbies, they are nevertheless promoting ideas that could be disempowering for those who don't adhere to them. In her 2007 book, Gender in the Media, Gill highlights how the media no longer depicts women as sex objects, but as desiring sexual subjects instead. However, this desire still relies on women appearing attractive, in line with the male gaze, and therefore isn't truly empowering. Minaj and Spice adhere to traditional femininity, with flawless makeup and hair looking presentable and suggestive in pink sparkly outfits that accentuate their breasts and buttocks. They are sexualized far beyond any white Barbie in the past, taking traditional Barbie symbols and reshaping them. Spice claims he wanna play in the playhouse, and I know the tricks so I got him bricked. She turns Barbie's house into something where sexual play can happen, as bricked refers to a man's erection. Furthermore, Minaj states, I'm a 10 so I'm pulling a Ken, suggesting that the femininity she performs allows her to attract men. Her worth out of 10 is validated by a man's presence. He makes her yell out with sexual pleasure, turning the Barbie dream house into a scream house. Furthermore, Spice and Minaj are, at times, visually represented as inferior to men. They perform Goffman's gender codes from 1979, which Gill references in Chapter 3. Goffman observed women's submissiveness in the media, which we see as Spice bends down and looks away from the camera, and Minaj sits bent over on the floor. Both women bend in the stiff positions of Barbie dolls, whilst the men around them are always standing up, above them, and in motion. However, we also see Minaj and Spice empowered as standalone figures. Spice drives solo in a convertible for most of her feature, and Minaj is a 20-foot giant, depicted as way above the tiny men below her. The women don't interact, touch, or really even look at any of the male dancers in the video, which is much more progressive than Beyonce and Kylie, who are positioned to either chase or dance suggestively with men, as observed by Railton and Watson. This also challenges the way Goffman perceived the depictions of women in the media. They're much more agentic and independent in these shots, specifically. However, as Gill highlights, this empowerment is potentially hollowed by the way Spice and Minaj are still dressed in alignment with the male gaze and traditional femininity. As Gill would likely argue, Spice and Minaj are self-subjectifying themselves as black Barbies. As Railton and Watson highlight, the Virgin Mary was an early model of femininity for white women. I would argue that Barbie became a similar model for white women and girls in the last century. Railton and Watson suggest the Virgin Mary is pure and unsullied by the dark drives of reproduction on page 55. Similarly, Barbie promotes this chastity, with her lack of genitalia yet ability to have children. Both figures secure white privilege and are expected to control male sexual drives, while Spice and Minaj, contrarily, fully embrace and promote sexuality. Perhaps Minaj and Spice are more fluid in their ability to challenge whiteness as the default, compared to Beyonce and Lil' Kim's limited ability to challenge such representations. However, the Barbie World video is still rooted in the idea that consumerism and traditional femininity can unlock empowerment, and the sexuality promoted in the video is purely heterosexual as well. However, Is it possible for Barbie to ever truly be diverse, or is this prohibited by the fact that she will always be a symbol of feminine performance that can be sold? I think we could reflect on music videos in the same way. Can they ever truly be empowering in their representations of race, sexuality, and gender? Or is their only real aim to sell music and products to consumers? If companies are always aiming for views and sales, will representation always come second to this?